my goodness, it has been a minute, you guys. Welcome back to Sports Talk Mostly podcast. Just to be very transparent with you all, I did have some unforeseen personal circumstances that came into play in life that kept me from doing regular podcasts. So I kind of just decided to just put a whole hiatus on it and come back when I could keep things regular. So this episode 16 is going to be a little bit of a recap episode. You will realize this when you listen to the interview, but this interview with Madison is a few months old now, since we were only in NBA Finals when she and I were able to digitally link up for this interview. You'll find that obviously the content of the interview it's old. So I had to give a little bit of an intro, so I didn't just throw the episode on here and you guys be like, wait, all of this stuff happened like months ago. So that is the reason for that. Like I said, NBA Finals was going on. The Lakers won. WNBA Finals had also been going on and concluded shortly before that in the women's bubble, and the Seattle Storm were the champions of that. Also, since the interview with Madison in MLB news, the LA Dodgers won the World Series, and even more recently than that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. So just highlighting some of the major sports happenings that have gone on since the interview, just to walk it back a little bit before I take you guys all the way back to a few months ago. Definitely thanks to Madison for coming on and also letting me use the interview after so long. Appreciate you, boo. And just wanted to use the interview as a little bit of a refresher to how sports ended in 2020 after such a wildly different year than we are all used to. Off to a little bit better start so far in 2021 with sports and everything. So, also fun fact about the interview with Madison, she and I did not plan to wear the same hoodie. So if you are watching the video version of the episode on YouTube, do know that there was like a 5-minute long freak out when we came on the video stream and discovered we were matching. We did not plan to be wearing the same hoodie. If you're watching now, obviously, on the stream. And if you're not watching now, I am wearing the Sloan and Bennett 8/24/2 hoodie that Sloan and Bennett came out with in 2020 after Kobe and Gigi passed away. So like I said, it was a little bit of a fun memory for me every time I wear this hoodie. Now I think about that because her and I were so surprised that we ended up wearing the same hoodie without even planning it. That's girls for you. We're excited by little things like that. So anyways, I do hope that you guys enjoy this episode and the interview with Madison. I will be back Wednesday, March 31st for regular bi-weekly episodes with a fresh episode and fresh interview guest on Wednesday, March 31st. Like I said, bi-weekly Wednesday nights will be the new release days for the episode. So again, thank you so much for your patience and your support, and I hope you enjoy hearing from the lovely Madison.
All right, we have episode 16. Madison Kerley. If you guys missed the secret segment, you really need to go check that out. We definitely got some good topics going on over there. And for those of you watching, I wish, to all the gods that I could have captured the recording that I got when Madison and I got on the Skype call and realized that we're wearing the same damn sweatshirt. And for those of you who are listening and not watching, you can go to the YouTube video to see the sweatshirt, but I will kind of tell you a little bit about it just so a company called Sloan and Bennett made these hoodies shortly after Kobe and Gigi.
If you follow basketball, Josh Christopher, he is super high in high. Well, he's a freshman at ASU now, but was super highly recruited out of high school. It's him and Caleb, his brother, who also plays at ASU. It's their brother's company.
Thank you.
And like
Thank you.
they're in with the whole like, I'm sure you're gonna get into the whole like LeBron story, but like they're like family friends and all of that. So like that's how LeBron got connected with them. Okay, continue.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad you know that also, because that was like part of what I was gonna explain. But you definitely actually went way more in depth than what I was gonna explain. I was gonna say that LeBron got hooked up by a couple of guys that are affiliated with ASU.
Okay, got it.
For those that don't know,
I'm pretty sure they're like
back way up. Let's back way up. For those that don't know, Madison is a former ASU golf alumni. Yes. I am a current ASU student in the medical dietetics program. So that is our common bond for the whole ASU thing. So that's why we know particular news about ASU specifically. So that was a lot. In regards to the sweatshirt, the couple of guys that Madison just described gave this specific hoodie to LeBron to wear for the All-Star draft for this year, shortly after Kobe passed away. And it is the Heart 824 hoodie with the white heart with the 2 in it representing Gigi, with the writing down the side and the writing on the hood. The company is called Sloan and Bennett, and they are no longer producing this hoodie. They may end up doing another round of it, who knows, but they did a fundraiser for the Mamba Foundation before it switched to its new name. And yeah, so we got on the call, and obviously the Lakers won the championship last night. We're recording this on Monday. Not sure what day you guys are listening, but the Lakers won the championship last night, and we, without any coordination at all, I did not even know that you owned this sweatshirt. We hopped on the call, and I literally lost my shit. Because we're matching. Yeah, like, well, okay, so now that we got that whole bit out of the way for you guys, I thank you, Madison, for coming on. Why don't you please go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself besides, obviously, your background at ASU.
Thanks for having me. So like you said, I played golf at ASU. While at ASU, I majored in sports journalism and did their sports law and business program. So while in school, I did a lot of like on-camera reporting. Kind of decided I didn't want to go the whole like a lot of them do like the local TV and work your way up route, and just kind of decided I like didn't want to really do that. Would rather work for like a team or like a network or just go that route. So decided to go more digital, focused on social media, had a couple opportunities in college, and then applied this past probably in like January, February for a position at Fox Sports Southwest.
Okay.
Ended up getting the job in March, which worst time ever to get a job in sports.
Yeah, that's insane.
But thankful to have a job of like 100%. Like
totally.
Got super lucky with the timing, happy to keep it, all of that. So I'm currently the social media coordinator at Fox Sports Southwest.
Cool.
I have been since March, so this is month 7, and I haven't worked a single day in the office. So
that is so weird. That's gotta be such a weird dynamic for a job. Like, yeah, I have this job that I've actually legitimately never been to. Like, I do it every day, but I've never been to it.
Well, and I went like my first day I started and met my boss at the office to like pick up my laptop.
Yeah.
So I was there for like a few hours with him, like getting the laptop set up. But besides that, like I met them on Zoom a couple of them on Zoom, but I haven't met any of my coworkers. So like we joke all the time how the people he talks about, they could honestly just be like made up people that he's blaming all the problems on.
You're like, yeah, if they exist.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So what do you like best about being on the social team at Fox? I mean, obviously, like we just talked about, it's a little bit different dynamic than it would be normally. But what has the experience been like there so far as far as content and work stuff goes?
So what I do like is, so as a regional sports network, we have like team partners, and then we air their games, but as our social content, we like clip highlights from those games, and then also whatever fun, creative content and interviews we come up with based on our team partners.
Right.
So since we have team partners in every sport, it's fun for me since I do get to like cover and post about every sport, because there's even been like jobs that people talk about or they pop up or I've looked at, and like I'll consider it for a second, but I'm like, okay, but if I take it, then I can't post about basketball, or if I take it, then I can't post, like I won't be covering this or like whatever. So it's like I'm in the perfect situation right now until like obviously like a dream opportunity comes up down the road. But for now, like get to post about every sport. It like definitely like widens my like content creation like opportunities. And so that's really fun. Obviously we have Luca and the Mavs, and the Dallas Stars just made a Stanley Cup run. So we've had some fun teams to cover. And so the ability to cover a wide range of sports and like some of these fun opportunities that have popped up within our teams have been awesome.
Yeah, definitely. You also cover some college sports for the D210 sports.
Yes.
How is that different from what you do at Fox, and what are some highlights about covering college athletics?
So D210 and I like recently partnered up. They're a like smaller network here in Dallas, and they have like a nightly show on Spectrum that runs I think once or twice a week.
Okay.
So that like while they do have a show, a lot of it is on social media.
Okay,
I reached out to them because they have a lot of on-camera reporters, and obviously as a social media coordinator, I haven't, like that's not my role, but I do miss it a little bit. So I was like, hey, if you have any opportunities, like I'd love to help out. They eventually had the SMU opportunity pop up, and I reached out to my boss just to make sure it was okay with Fox. And it's a good like thing on the side. SMU isn't a team partner with Fox, so it doesn't conflict at all, but I just picked it up because I missed being on camera. It's fun. I've been able to attend some of the games, which has been cool because for Fox, we've just been working at home, haven't been at any of the games. Obviously, the NBA was down in Florida, all of that.
Yeah.
So I've been able to attend the SMU games. It's very different. There's very few people in the press box. We can't go on the field, all of that stuff. But it has given me opportunity to get at live sports, get back on camera, talk about sports. So it's been fun. It's kind of like a little hobby side gig type of thing.
Yeah, I like it. So obviously there's one thing that I have to stop and chat with you about. We talked about it for a second on the secret segment, but that's yesterday's news with Dak. Everybody knows what happened. Obviously, terrible ankle injury. How does the Dallas fan base recover from something so drastic like this? I mean,
honestly, it's tough because Dallas is the Dallas Cowboys. Like they like every like place here lives and breathes Dallas Cowboys. Like you can go to any bar, you can go to like any bar, any restaurant to watch the game, and they'll be playing the entire time, but like playing music the entire time. But like once the game comes on, off game sound, like everyone's there to watch the game. So obviously devastating. Loss. I think something that really will help them recover is how Andy Dalton was able to come in the game and like get the win for Dak. So despite the loss of Dak, they still had that like rally cry to like get the win for him. So we'll see I think it'll depend like how Andy's able to perform like the rest of the season, and see if like they can really come together and win some games for him. But I think since he is such a like beloved quarterback, not only here in Dallas, but like nationwide and within the league, and just the respect he has, it'll be more of a like, let's come together for him and like get the job done.
So true. Yeah, I agree. I feel like when something happens like that, I mean, like even a couple years ago with Alex Smith, when he was in the Redskins and he had his horrible injury, I feel like everybody around the league, like not just the specific fan base, but people kind of take a collective, like deep breath and hold it when something like that happens to see how the backup quarterback is going to perform. Because when you come in under that pressure and it's not just like an offhand opportunity at the end of a really good game to get some throws in, it's way more pressure on a backup quarterback, and you have no idea if a guy, especially if perhaps that guy is a rookie, you have no idea how that type of like mindset and that situational pressure is going to affect that backup quarterback.
I've had some friends, like this is at the college level, so like completely different than like leading an NFL franchise, but like if they're a backup and the starter gets hurt, there's a complete or even if they're used to sharing reps, but they're not the starter, like say like a running back position, there's a completely different like mindset and like all of that when you're all of a sudden the starting running back and you're not standing out on the sidelines preparing for like how the defense is reacting to him, or like there's no like just stand there and watch and be ready to go when you go in. Like you got to be ready to go from the start. Like,
to go or die.
I can't even imagine at the NFL level, especially at quarterback, to go from like he's been sitting on the bench to now you're leading the Dallas Cowboys and the pressure of like winning some games for Dak. So like
yeah, that's definitely a big burden to carry. But obviously, I hope they at least have a good season. I mean, there's no telling what could happen. We've seen some incredible things happen in these type of situations. But I just think it's like uber heartbreaking for the Dallas fan base because it was it was shaping up to be such a good season. Finally, something worth like bragging about for Dallas fans, and then this happened. So,
like they've had like potential for the past couple years, but it's just like never happened. And then this season, like again, like it's just and like that type of injury. And honestly, like the hardest thing for me too is like Dak's been so vulnerable, like coming out talking about his mental health struggle, coming out like, and like obviously he like received criticism for it, and just like everything he's been through recently.
Well, then not only that, then you have the still from the game film where he's crying as he's being carted off the field, and it's like, come on, like.
And then like. You like, especially this type of injury does so much damage to like an athlete's mental health. So like he's already had this like public struggle and like coming forward to talk about it, and like now he has to go through this, and so everyone just needs to come together and support.
I know, my heart truly goes out to Mr. Dakota Rain Prescott because he, I don't know, I feel like he has such a good soul, and it's like one of those guys like. I mean, you never want to see it happen to anybody, but when you have a guy like we discussed on the secret segment who has campaigned so hard for himself and is trying to give himself the biggest platform that he can to do well, and then something like this happens, it just like crushes you a little bit. Even if you're a genuine sports fan at all, it's just one of those things you never want to see at all. So let's talk about some good news though. Outside of NFL, we recently saw the conclusion of the WNBA season with the Seattle Storm championship, and as everybody knows, we just mentioned the Lakers closed it out against Miami last night for Kobe for their 17th championship. What are some of your personal takeaways about the leagues and their operation within their respective bubbles?
Okay, first off, like biggest props to the NBA. Well, WNBA pulled it off too, but it started with Adam Silver and coming together with Disney to plan the bubble.
Yes.
And obviously we've seen with how like NFL games have fallen apart, and it's created scheduling conflicts and it's affecting the rest of the season.
MLB has been terrible also.
Yes. And so like at least now in postseason they're in kind of a bubble. So like it's been a little bit since they've had outbreaks, but to come to the bubble, obviously there were some first initial positives when they were back in their like home cities and whatnot, but to like keep them home until they test negative and then send them to the bubble and like have 172 games with no positive tests, like that's insane. And like obviously it's been a tough year for everyone, so like props to them for like giving us basketball to watch. Like as much as we would have loved to be there to watch it, like having it on TV and being able to rally around a sport was insane. And then same with the WNBA. It's probably the biggest year ever for the WNBA. So honestly, it's sad. Like, but I think the support for the WNBA, like, obviously, like, peaked and started peaking after Kobe's death. Like, we saw his support for them. Kobe died, and everyone was like, "Well, we got to step up and continue what he started." And so like. Everyone started kicking in for the WNBA, and then the whole Orange Hoodie like campaign, and like they got it out as many like important bigger name people as possible.
Cool seeing all the NBA guys rock the Orange Hoodie too. Like, and I had Lindsay D'Arcangelo with The Athletic on like episode at the like 12 or 13, I think. And her whole thing that she has campaigned on social media is if you're a fan of the NBA, and especially if you're a fan of the Lakers and of Kobe, and you're going to dog on the NBA or you're going to dog on the WNBA and women's sports in general, you're not a Kobe fan because you cannot simultaneously exist as both a Kobe fan and somebody who dogs on women's sports because Kobe was the biggest proponent for women's sports. Like you cannot exist as both. Like doesn't happen.
For the longest time, I think I recently changed it, but my header on Twitter, it was a screenshot of the Suns replying to a fan's on their Instagram account. The Suns replying to this like little kid's comment, and they had posted like a Phoenix Mercury. It was either like good luck this season, something related to the Mercury, like probably wishing them good luck this season or whatever. And he commented, "Nobody cares." And if you go to his profile, his like bio was about Kobe. And so the Suns replied to him and they said, if Kobe's really your idol, like your bio says, you would, or so, like something basically like shutting him down. Like if you like Kobe,
yes,
you would support the WNBA. And it's like for the longest time I had that as my Twitter bio because it's so true. Like
I've had a similar exchange with people.
He was like the OG wearer of the orange hoodie. Like there's that picture of him sitting courtside at an NBA game with Gigi wearing the orange hoodie. Like he's the OG.
LeBron, there's a photo in that hoodie of Kobe giving love to LeBron on the sideline. So, but why would LeBron show him love while he's wearing that hoodie if it wasn't something legitimate? You know what I mean? Like, be like, you clown, take that off.
It's crazy that, like, thinking back about it though, is because like obviously we all appreciated that like picture, like him wearing that hoodie and like the picture when it came out, but it's even like crazier looking back at it now because like. Now the orange hoodie's so widespread and there was that whole campaign, but he was like the OG. Like I didn't even know that like hoodie existed. And then like now there's pictures of him in it and it's just crazy. Like,
yeah. I agree with you. What do you think that it says about sports and basketball specifically that LeBron and Sue are each in their 17th seasons and leading their teams to championships this season?
It's crazy. They're like, I mean, I love Diana Taurasi, like, like she's my GOAT, but like Sue Bird, like in LeBron, like goated, like to be in their 17th year, like both MVPs, like it's crazy. Like it's just like proof how good they are because any sport, NFL's usually a little shorter than most, but you don't last that long. Like you just don't. Like ever. And so like the fact that not only are they still playing in their 17th year, but to be MVPs and winning championships in their 17th year, it's crazy. Because like obviously like we saw with other people like this season, like they've been in the NBA for so long, like they've been on the same team or like even recently, like they've been on the same team for like 20 years or whatever, but like they're not doing that in their 17th year. Like it's just insane.
Yeah. Well, and I also think it speaks a lot to, like, busting the stereotypes that, like, in anything, not just basketball and sports, but, like, people are most successful, like, when they're young or in their 20s and things like that. Like, there are so many people. I mean, I can't note people specifically just because I didn't, like, refresh myself with that information before our interview. But there are so many celebrities throughout our pop culture in our time that did not get successful until like their late 30s, their 40s and things like that. So I just think aside from, you know, how progressive the game of basketball is, it also speaks to how tremendous it is to continue goal chasing no matter what age you are.
Yes.
Like there's nothing that like says in any rule book anywhere that you can't be what you want to be at any given age.
And going off of Sue Bird, and it kind of ties into another like mini like orange hoodie moment. Yesterday, Russell Wilson wore a Sue Bird jersey pregame, like obviously wore it backwards so you can like see her number and name and all that, and then wore it postgame. And obviously yesterday he had like the greatest drive in like the NFL this season to come back and win the game for the Seahawks. And it's honestly one of my favorite moments from yesterday, and it's very overshadowed because of everything that was going on.
Definitely.
But they asked him post game. They said, "What did it feel like to come down like that last drive? What was the feeling?" And he goes, "I felt like Sue Bird in the clutch." Like that was his answer. And not only was he wearing her jersey, but like that was like his biggest moment of the season, and he said, "I felt like Sue Bird in the clutch." Like,
yeah.
And like he's in Seattle, so like it's
Yep.
just huge. Like it's been really cool to see. Like I said, like the biggest year for the WNBA, like publicly, because like I'm sure like he's close friends with Kobe. Like him and his wife like are extremely close to Vanessa. Like I'm sure he's been
with Vanessa all the time. They were just with each other in Mexico.
Yeah, so like I'm sure he's been supporting the WNBA for years and like whatever, but like it's been so public this year, which has been great for the sport.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and as I'm from Oregon. I'm a Portland Trail Blazer. When I was young, we had the Portland Fire that was very short-lived. Obviously, we all know what happened with the Supersonics in 2005. And so as an Oregon girl, like, honestly, the Storm is, like, the extension of Oregon, you know, as far as sports fans go. Like, the WNBA, like, the Storm is Oregon's WNBA team, so to speak. So it's really nice when, like, all of us that are over here on the West Coast that get overshadowed by California everything all the time. It's really nice when we get our glory, you know, and get some attention thrown our way too. So definitely, I have been known to talk my shit on Russell Wilson, but that is definitely
100%.
Like, that is definitely.
I'm not a Seahawks fan, so like, I'm not a Seahawks fan in any sort, so it's not like I'm always like rooting for him, but he's a great person. Like, it's kind of like the whole like Russell, well, like maybe it's just a Russell thing because like Westbrook, like he just donated $8,000.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And one of my coworkers that I work extremely close used to work at Disney, and I sent that link over in our group chat and was like, "Did y'all see this?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did. It's great because a lot of the like Disney like hotel staff, he's like, they're extremely poor, they're immigrants, like they don't like a lot of the hotel staff, like that's their background." And so like I'm sure like obviously that 8,000 got divided between like a lot of the housekeeping staff, but even if they ended up with a couple $100 each, like I don't know how many people they were dividing it by, but like a couple hundred feeding their family for the next few months. Like
Definitely.
So while people, I'm sure there's people out there saying, "Oh, he only donated $8,000," but like to them, that's huge. And like he didn't have to do that. Like
no.
So
yeah, definitely. And I love those people who, like you just said, you use the word only. Like, oh, he only donated 8,000. My response is, how much did you donate?
Yes, and it's not even that. Like I read the article and he left the room spotless. Like I can't tell you, like he was there for months, and like I'll be in a hotel room, and I'll be honest, I'll leave a hotel room for a week, and like I'll clean up after myself, but it's not spotlast. Like
I literally felt so guilty when I read that. I'm like, God, I'm a shitty person.
He lived first of all, he's an NBA player. He could get away with like whatever he wants in the bubble. He was there for months, so like my room would have been a mess after living in a
he basically lived there. It was like a vacation rental, essentially.
Yes, and so like the fact that he left it spotless and left that huge tip to like help them out is like insane.
Yeah, he's like, here, do basically no work, and also I'm gonna tip you. Thanks for taking care of us. Like, yeah, I just
the cool thing too is like he didn't even do anything like public about it. Like, and he was asked about it, and he confirmed that he left a tip, but like wouldn't confirm the amount. And like he's like, I left them a generous tip, but they deserved it. Like he didn't want any of the like credit or publicity for it.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, and I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me a lot of the story that broke about Wayne Gabriel from the Portland Trail Blazers. When then they just went into playoffs. At the beginning of playoffs, a story broke about him giving an Uber driver a $2,500 tip on an Uber ride that he had taken. So it goes to show that like these guys get dogged on for so much on the court, off the court. They get picked apart for their outfits and what they wore for 5 seconds on a pregame entry and like all of this shit. But like nobody ever stops to judge them for this kind of stuff.
Yes, and like and the fact that like he didn't give himself publicity about it, I'm sure there's plenty of other things that across the league they're all doing that we just don't know. Like unless someone posted about it, we don't know it happened.
Right. Yeah. No, I fully agree with that, and I definitely think that you just made a very good point. There's probably a lot more generosity going on than we even know about, and I'm sure we'll maybe hear a story, a thing or two, a little blurb here or there. Obviously, there's guys like Chris Haynes that have been in the bubble that see and hear a lot of different aspects of it, but it goes back to LeBron, the whole more than basketball, more than an athlete thing. Like, these guys are human beings. They have hearts and souls. They have seen a lot less and a lot worse times than a lot of people will even want to understand and give them credit for. So for them,
Jimmy Butler was homeless at like 14. Like, people talk crap about Jimmy Butler all the time, but they like don't understand what he's been through, and like that's why he is the way he is. Like,
yes, definitely. Speaking, I didn't even have this on my notes for our interview, but since you just said the words, what he's been through, it like just popped in my head. Let's talk Delonte West for a second. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Like, speaking of going through things, that story is another amazing story as well of like, obviously, I love Mark Cuban too. He posted a hilarious TikTok with his daughter the other day, but he's amazing. And he has done so much for Delonte West in like the last week, and barely anybody's talking about it.
Well, and like, that's the thing, like, obviously in the past he's made mistakes. Like, he's not human, but he's recovered and like changed his like perspective and like how he acts more than any. When Black Lives Matter protests like in marches like started in Dallas, he went out with like a few of the players and was like leading one of them. Like,
that's awesome.
He's first of all, he's a white male. Second of all, he's like a very prominent businessman and NBA owner. Like, he doesn't need to, like,
white male, not to mention he's a straight white male. So he already has more advantages than any gay white male would ever have.
So like, and like he went out there and like showed his face and like led it with his players. And so like, it just shows not only is he not afraid to like put his face to that like that movement, but he's going to stand right next to his players when they need it. And so, and then it was just proven even more when he stood up and like helped out Delonte West after, like, I'm sure there's been people trying for years or like however since that picture broke out.
Right.
But he like didn't give up, was able to pick him up. And honestly, that picture of him on the horse, like I started crying. Like,
I know.
And there was another video, I guess the like the facility he's at, it's owned or like run by another former NBA player who struggled with, like, I'm pretty sure I put it on my Instagram yesterday or something. It's another former NBA player who also like struggled with like substances in the past, and then he like once he got clean, like started it, and there was a picture of them playing like racquetball together, and like I'm like,
oh my gosh, how heartwarming! That's so wholesome. Yeah. I'm so thankful that he's getting some help and like has resources and support now.
And like, he just like looks like, obviously like his life hasn't changed like fully yet, like he's not like completely healthy, but he looks happier, and so like that's huge.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. If you find that guy's name, let me know. Even if it's after the show, let me know.
Okay, perfect.
But there is one big reason why I really wanted you to come on the podcast, and we have definitely covered all the relevant sports topics. So let's talk about the actual reason you're on the show, and that's to tell everyone about your newest endeavor that you recently announced. So I'll let you have the honors in giving us more details about that.
So I've decided to start my own podcast. I'm calling it the You Mad Bro podcast, inspired by men who decide to get mad about women talking sports. But as I've told several people, like recently, like since like kicking it off, poking fun at that concept and whatever, but there are a ton of men who've like supported me in my sports career, and even since like posting like I want to start a podcast, have reached out to me and they were like, do it 100%, like you would kill it. So like there's definitely more men in sports that support women and do it extremely well than don't. But
there's like, always the clown on social media that has to say something.
Yes.
Always. And they usually, what kills me is they usually follow you. So they they talk shit to you and tell you shouldn't be talking about sports, but then follow you because you tweet about sports or post about sports, whatever platform it's on. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I can't take the hypocrisy. So I was like super stoked when I saw that you were starting that podcast, because I definitely think that it's like such an under discussed topic that like if more women were just talking about the derogatory things that they've experienced, even if it's just a small portion of the podcast, like, oh, guess what? I saw this tweet today. You know what I mean? Like, put it on blast, because it really, I think that sometimes people don't realize that it's almost like for some women in sports, it's like a daily thing that they get comments about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I'm definitely going to try and focus as much on women as I can in the podcast. Like, for example, I'm going to try and do, like, being an ASU fan, I'm going to try and do like a Pac-12 football, like, preview type episode. Totally. And while I do know some like very successful and like good male Pac-12 reporters, I'm going to try and find like a female reporter to talk to me about it. And so where I can focus on women, but then also I've told several people I know like too many dope men in sports to like completely ostracize them from the podcast. And like I said, they've all been extremely supportive of me. So I will comment on at times, but try and keep the focus women.
Yes, I love it. Well, let me know when you get your first episode out, when you start doing stuff for your podcast so that we can plug it, and maybe eventually down the road when you get going, we can do a guest host episode so we can talk about some topics together. But it has been, what did you say?
I found the post. So Delonte West, it's him playing racquetball with former NBA player Jason Williams. And so Jason played 9 years in the NBA and had a drug addiction. And then him and his partner worked together to create a program in Florida. And that's the program that Delonte's at right now. Like getting
That's crazy because I follow Jason Williams. I did not realize he had a recovery program. That is really awesome.
Called the Rebound. Well, I mean, it's nice, like called the Rebound program, which is like obviously playoff basketball, but also like rebound from whatever's going, like problems you're doing. But I think it's really cool that he's in with a former NBA player, because like we've talked about, like he was probably embarrassed. Like that's probably why he wasn't like receiving anyone's help, because you're this former NBA player and like supposed to be this star and like have everything together in life and like be like not have any problems, and he was probably embarrassed like to be seen out on the streets. And so to be with another former NBA player who went through it also and like is now helping you is probably like makes him feel like better and like less embarrassed about everything he's going through.
Well, and not only that, but having somebody that you can relate to, no matter like what your trauma is, to have somebody that you can relate to is huge, and knowing that they have been where you've been and they've got past it and then look at where they are now. You know what I mean? And obviously everybody's path is different. And when it comes to recovery, everybody's, journey is different. There's people that find their recovery in a lot of different forms. But I just think that it's a really good thing for Delonte West to have a friend in Jason Williams, because it's somebody who can show him like, look, dude, and not to mention that obviously we all saw the photo that broke last summer, but social media is no help to somebody's recovery process, especially when they're that low. Like that photo that broke last summer before everything happened this summer when he got help from Cubes, people were like, that's not him. How could that be him? Why would he ever let himself get in that situation? Like, people actually doubted that it was Delonte West.
Yes.
Not to mention the fact that they were dogging on him because it was, you know what I mean? Like there was just so much judgment. And so I don't blame him at all for like feeling shame or like resisting help.
And that's why I think it's really cool that, so obviously he can relate to Jason Williams. I don't know if there was any previous like relationship or like friendship or whatever between them, or if they knew each other. But for someone like Mark Cuban, who did have a previous relationship with him, to step up and do it. And the thing that I loved the most too is Cuban didn't just like throw money at the problem, which he easily could have. He was the one out there picking him off the street, took him to a hotel, made it like stayed there until his family was there, and then like is still the one like checking up with him in the recovery process. So that's really cool to see.
And not only checking up on him, but I'm sure he's also making sure to like relay some of the things that people are saying as well. Like not just people like guys around the league and other coaches and things like that, but also people from social media. You know what I mean? Like
because the picture he shared of him like on the horse was like, he wants you all to see this and say thank you like for the support. So like he's definitely sharing it both ways.
So heartwarming. God, it makes me smile. Well, let's end it on a good note. Thank you so much for coming on. And I'm so excited for you and your podcast. Like I said, please let us know when you get everything going so we can shout you out. Guys, make sure to go follow Madison on Twitter. She's on Twitter. You can find her if you follow me. And you can also follow the You Mad Bro podcast on Twitter. So search for both of those handles. Thank you again for coming on. And Twitch status on the hoodie. For Kobe and Gigi. All right, girly. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
Bye.